So this next row we're doing in single crochet. So do as many rows as half double crochet as you want, and then slip stitch to join and put a stitch marker in your yarn. Because now we need to lay out our bag and figure out where our handles are going to be. So I'm lining up the bottom of my bag here, my points of my bag, and then following them up to line up the sides up here. I have my bobble, and I still have my stitch marker in the very back. So I know those are lining up approximately. So that is about the top of my bag. I don't want to put my handles where my bobbles are because I want to do a chain to come over and loop. So here I want to leave it free. I want to start my handles somewhere on this side of my bobbles. So I'll get more stitch markers, and I'm just going to count it out by bobbles. So I'm going to leave this one straight, and I'll leave it here. So maybe on top of this V here into that stitch, I'll put a stitch marker. So that'll be where my handle's going to start on that side. You can have them as close together or far apart as you want. It's up to you. You can do handles any which way. And into this V on this side, this V stitch here, into that top stitch, I'm going to put another stitch marker. So this is where my handles are going to start. I'm going to flip my work and do the same thing on the back side where I have my stitch markers. So on the back side I have my stitch markers as well, although they're a funny color to see, sorry about that. So this is the same as my bobble in the front. So I am going to go not into the ones that are touching, but into the next one over. So I'm going to go into this V stitch here and into the top stitch on top up there. You're just trying to even it out so what your front side is similar to the back side. So our bobble is here. So not into these V's that are touching the bobble. I'm going to go into the next V stitch over and then into the top of the corresponding double crochet at the top. So our handles, if we tip up our work, should be matching. You can see those ones. That's where our handles are going to be. So now we're ready to go. Back to where our yarn is. Put it back on your hook, and I'm on the side of my bag here, so I'm going to do single crochets all the way until we reach our first stitch marker. So here I am. The next stitch has my stitch marker in it, so you can decide if you're going to do a single crochet into that stitch or not. I'm going to skip it, and now we're going to do our chain, which is going to start our handle. So this is our space here that we're going to chain over, and the longer the chain you make, the taller your handles will be. The shorter, like if you just want a little tote, you just add a few extra stitches and you'll have a little handle here. If you want it to go over your shoulder or around your neck and over your shoulder, you make a longer chain. So this is up to you what you're going to do. And keep in mind it does stretch, crochet stretches a bit, so I'm going to count my stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Excuse me. So I have 26 stitches, including the ones with my stitch marker. So I'm going to do at least 30 for a short handle, and I'll see how many I need to go up and over my shoulder, because I want to be able to put this under my arm and over my shoulder. So I'll just do 26 to start. So that is the same distance, the same number of stitches as we did down below, but now I think That's 26. I probably almost need another 26. No. Okay, so I chained 46, so I added 20 stitches. So make sure your chain isn't twisted, and go into the stitch after the stitch marker if you skipped it on this side, or into the same stitch if you went into it. And you're going to go into it and make a single crochet like that, and then single crochet all the way around until you get to your next stitch marker. You also probably want to write down how many chains you did. So I did 46, so I'd write down somewhere on my pattern or on a piece of paper that I did 46. So single crochet until you reach your next stitch marker. So I finished my last single crochet, and I'm stopping before my stitch marker, same as the other side. So I'm going to do my chain the same as I did the other side, which was 46. So it was my number of stitches plus 20. I've chained my 46. I'm going to skip my stitch marker stitch because I skipped it on the other side. So after the stitch marker, I'm going to make a single crochet, and make sure that your chain isn't twisted. So single crochet, and now one single crochet into each stitch until we meet our next stitch marker, which is right here. We're going to slip stitch to where our stitch marker is. So we'll slip stitch to join. So that's all joined up. Now we are going to do one row of half doubles again. So I'm going to chain one and wrap my yarn into the same stitch. I'm going to do a half double crochet, and I'm going to make a loop and put a stitch marker on that stitch that we just made, that little guy there, so I know where I'm going to slip stitch to. That just you don't have to do it, but it just helps you not have to think about it when you reach your way around. So wrap your yarn and one half double crochet into each stitch until you get to your chain, and then one into each stitch of your chain. I will show you how to do that. Oh, we can take these stitch markers out from our handles now. We don't need those. Just pop those out as you go around. So one more half double into this stitch there, and now one half double into each stitch of your chain. Now you can do this either way that you want. You can work into the back ridges, which is the perfect way. It's what you're supposed to do. If that's fiddly for you, you just go into the stitch, because we're going to work around anyway. We're going to do one more row, which will hide your stitches, or it'll hide your just going into the stitch. So I'm just going to go into each stitch, making one half double into each stitch all the way along this chain. So this is starting to be our handle now. So I've made one half double crochet into each of my chains. Now I'm going to start here, the first stitch down. So with just the same thing, half double crochet one into every stitch all the way around. So we'll do the same thing when we get to the next handle. Once you've finished this round, try on your bag. Make sure that that's the right, that your shoulder can go through there, that it feels good, because it's not too late to go back and put in more chains for your handle or less chains for your tote, or whatever you want to do. So finish this round and try it on for size. So remember, in the beginning we said all that was the stitch, and we chose to go in the beginning of it. So this here is not a stitch. I'm ignoring it. If you put a stitch there, your bag will be getting bigger than you want. So take out your stitch marker and put your hook into that first half double you made, slip stitch to join. So my next row is going to be single crochet and then I'm going to do another row of half double crochet, and then my last row of single crochet. So I'll meet you back for the single crochet. On our single crochet round, we're going to be putting in our chain to loop over our bumps. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in a bit. So the way I'm going to do my handles and the top of my bag, you can see how it's coming together now. I'm going to alternate rows of half double crochet and single crochet. So I just did half double. My next one I'm going to do single, then I'm going to do half double again. And then one more row of single crochet all the way around, and I'll be finished with that. While I'm doing my last row of single crochet, I will also be doing the chains similar to where these stitch markers are that correspond with our bumps at the front, so it'll loop over and hold the ends shut if you'd like it to be a rectangular bag instead of a big wide shopping tote. So keep going, make your handles as wide as you want. You can have them super fat or super skinny, it's up to you. We'll be going around with a slip stitch to make them not stretchy, so don't worry about that. And keep going, I'll see you when your handles are as fat as you'd like them to be. I'm on my row of single crochet, and I've come around to where we have our 2 stitch markers still at the back. This is where we're going to be putting in our chains to loop onto our baubles. So I'm going to move these stitch markers up approximately to where they would be on this last row of half double crochet. So I'll move this one up also. Just follow your finger up a few rows and slip stitch and put the stitch marker in the corresponding stitch on your last row that you did. So now you know when you get to here, oh, I joined my yarn there, that's why it's loose. When you get to here, that's where you're going to be making your chain. And I am there, so it's a good thing I stopped. So I'm just going to pull up a loop and take my hook out. Now we're going to fold in the corners of our bag. So that is my folded in size. Now we're going to figure out how long we need our chain to be to get over onto this bump and back. You want it to be snug. So take out your stitch marker, and in that stitch I'm going to do my regular single crochet. And now I'm going to make my chain of 26. Now turn your work over completely, still holding those sides together, and just check if that is a nice chain to go around your bauble. So you want it to go around, let me get the yarn out of the way. You want it to go around your bauble and come back up, not be too loose and not be too tight. I did my chain 36. You can check to make sure it goes around your bauble and back up, and with some extra space because I'm doing another row of half double crochet and single crochet, so I'm estimating that that'll be good for my bag. You can stop here. I just want my handles a bit fatter because of how big my bag is. I don't want the handles looking too small. So make sure your chain is not twisted, and slip stitch into the first chain to join. So not into your stitch, but into the chain itself, the first chain of the chain, slip stitch to join. So there's your loop. You can make sure now that it's not twisted. Make sure now that it's not twisted. And now keep doing your single crochets. Just keep that out of your way while you start so you can see your right stitch, and keep going with your single crochets. So back at the next stitch marker, take your stitch marker out, single crochet into that stitch like regular, And now do the same chain you did on the other side. So I'm doing a chain 36. So making sure that's not twisted, it's laying flat. I'm going to come and slip stitch to this top chain, the first chain I made. I'm going to slip stitch into that chain to join. Into that one, into that one. And then make sure it's not twisted. And now continue on, single crochet into the next stitch. Just keeping that out of the way for now. And into the last stitch here. And now that's my joining one. So to see where to join to is the top of this stitch here. So slip stitch to join. Chain 1, and I'm doing half doubles now, so half double crochet into that stitch and put your stitch marker back into the stitch you just made. There you go. A half double crochet in each stitch all the way around. Now here I am getting near my chain area. So take a look at your stitches. Make sure you're doing a half double crochet into each stitch. So there's one. The next one is my half double crochet where I did my chain. So I'm going to half double crochet the same place I did my chain. I'm just going to push it to the side and go into the same stitch as that row and just scoot straight over it like that. So we just pushed it to the side and now it's hanging inside our bag. So if we don't want to use it, it's just going to sit inside. No one's going to see it sitting at the top of your work. So now we're getting to the next chain. So just check your stitches, make sure you're putting a half double into each one. Now this next one is where I've made my chain. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to push it to the side and look from the top so I can see my stitch. And we'll drop it down to the back so it's out of the way, and I'm going to make my half double right into that stitch and into the next stitch and slip stitch to join where my stitch marker is. Slip stitch to join. Now I'm going to do my last round of single crochet. I hope my handles feel a bit better now. Now you keep going regularly to make your handles the size you want, alternating between single crochet and half double crochet until you're happy with them. I've finished my single crochet. So I'm ready to slip stitch to where my stitch marker is, my first actual single crochet of that row. So I'll slip stitch. Now I'm just going to do slip stitch in each stitch all the way around, and that's going to stop our bag from stretching along the top and the handles. So I've slip stitched into that stitch, so that's fine. I'm going to slip stitch straight into the next stitch, and each stitch going around just like that. And that stops your bag from stretching out. So one slip stitch in each stitch until we get back to this spot. You can mark your first slip stitch again if you like. Just put your stitch marker into that first slip stitch where we joined. So I'll see you at the end of this round. I've gone all the way around with slip stitch. Now I'm just going to slip stitch to my first slip stitch to join. Like that. Chain one to secure, and then cut my yarn. You pull up your hook and your loop of yarn out and snug it down to secure. Now this we'll weave in with a needle to get it down. So the top of our handle doesn't have, it has a bit of stretch but not really, and the bottom still does. Starting on one side, doesn't matter which one, we're going to join our yarn, but also look at the pretty side. You don't want to be going from the inside because you want all your stitching to be on the outside of your work. So we're going to join our yarn. I'm not going to join in the actual corner because I don't want the extra bulk, and I want to do a little decrease in there. So 2 stitches in, or skip a stitch, and then the second stitch I'm going to join my yarn. So put a loop of yarn on your hook, bring it through, and slip stitch with both to join. Drop 1 and slip stitch into the next stitch and into the next stitch. Drop your tail. We're going to have to weave in our tail with a needle. So slip stitch into each of these stitches. When you get to the corner, you'll see your 2 stitches left. This one is with the same one up top. So we're going to do a decrease. I'm going to start this slip stitch, leave it on the hook, go into this one that's also attached to the corner, bring my yarn back, 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to take off all 3 together. So that pulled that corner in a bit. And then turn your work, because now you're going to be working back along your handle. Now you'll see there's a weird stitch coming up. Oops, no you won't. Now you'll see there's this weird loop there. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go in, grab my yarn and bring it back like a slip stitch, and also into this first stitch at the top. Grab my yarn, bring it back, 3 loops on my hook, take off all 3 loops. So that's like 2 decreases in the corner. Slip stitch into the next stitch, and now 1 slip stitch into each stitch going back along the top. Now these ones here, this is my original chain. Yours will be your original chain also. So there's only 1 loop to go into. So you're just going to be slip stitching into that 1 loop, and that'll keep your handle from stretching and give it a nice edge. So into each of these loops, 1 slip stitch. When you reach this last corner, you'll do the same thing. Start your slip stitch into that stitch that's just touching the corner. Bring your yarn back and into the next, this stitch on the side of this single crochet. I'm going to go into that stitch, grab my yarn and bring it back. 3 loops on my hook and take off all 3. So that's a decrease technically, and we'll do that again. So the next 2 spots that you'd normally stitch into, or you think you might stitch into, we'll do a decrease again. So I've gone into this one there, that one, so this hole there is next, that stitch. Grab your yarn and bring it back and slip and put your hook into the next stitch. Grab your yarn and bring it back, wrap your yarn and take off all 3. So that's our 2 decreases in the corner, just to make that nice and firm. And our next stitch has our original slip stitch in it. So I'm just going to go into that stitch to join. Grab your yarn, bring it back, slip stitch to join, and chain 1 to secure your work. Now cut your yarn and do the exact same thing on the other, for the other handle. So here is our finished bag, nice and square with our ends tucked in, our sides. And there it is, our bag as a nice big shopping tote with our ends, our chains popped in. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, share with your friends, and thank you so much for watching. Stay hooked.